Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Learning Right Law Center's 4th Annual Law Firm Challenge, otherwise known as Raising the Bar for Education. My name is Marisol. I am the volunteer coordinator at Learning Rights. Today is the first day, as you know, of our Law Firm Challenge, and we are pleased to welcome you to this kickoff and training. The challenge runs 1 month and will end on August 15th, 2020. I want to make a special shout out and thank you to my colleagues who are also on this webinar, Julie Heslip and Erin Bikart, my colleagues who are key and very fundamental to launching and making sure that this challenge is a success. So thank you. And I believe we also have, I know we also have our executive director and founder participating with us today, Janine Steele. Thank you for everything that you do. Today's training and orientation will be approximately 45 minutes in length. It is intended to give you a bit of background regarding the work that we do at Learning Rights, the pro bono opportunities available through the Law Firm Challenge, and instructions on how to participate. This training will be recorded, so if for any reason you need to log off, you can access it at a different time. Okay. To start, who are we and what is Learning Rights Law Center? The mission of Learning Rights Law Center is to achieve education equity for underserved families in Los Angeles and surrounding counties. We provide free and low-cost legal representation, advice, advocacy, and training to children, their families, and communities who, as a consequence of disability or discrimination, have been denied equal access to a public education. This year, we are proud to announce that Learning Rights is celebrating its 15-year anniversary. Featured here on this slide are some of the clients that we have had the pleasure of working with over the past 15 years. On the top row of your screen is a student in a graduation hat and former Learning Rights client who we will call Candace. As a child, Candace was diagnosed with an orthopedic impairment that affected her mobility. She was a good student who received high grades up until the start of high school, when some of her classes began to be held on both the first and second stories of the school building. Due to her diagnosis, Candace was not able to climb up and down the stairs. The solution was to allow her access to the school elevator. However, the elevator required use of a key and the school would not give her one. Instead, she had to wait each day for school personnel to show up and let her ride the elevator. Due to no fault of her own, Candace was often late for class or would miss it entirely because school personnel never showed up. On one occasion, she was left stranded upstairs during a school fire drill. Candace's grades began to fall and her self-esteem plummeted. This was a clear case of discrimination and unequal access, which the school refused to remedy. With the help of Learning Rights Law Center, Candace was able to obtain an elevator key and have consistent access to her education. With this simple remedy, she managed to pick up her grades and eventually went on to graduate from high school and college. To the bottom row with her 2 sons is one of our Tiger parents, who we will call Sylvia. Tiger is our Chief Grassroots Advocacy Program and stands for Teaching Individuals for Grassroots Education Reform. Both of Sylvia's boys require special education services. After years of seeing her boys struggle, she became frustrated with the school's failure to help them make meaningful progress. She started attending our Tiger classes, where she learned about her rights, her children's rights, and how to advocate for their educational needs. Today, she is much more satisfied with the progress they are making and the services they are receiving at school. Her boys, who were previously shy and victims of bullying, now enjoy singing, rapping, and entertaining on stage. They are now able to socialize at school, make and maintain friendships, and they are making academic progress. Why is there a need for educational advocacy in Los Angeles County? In Los Angeles, there are approximately 1,464,000 students enrolled. The majority of students in Los Angeles are considered at risk of failing or dropping out of school. This risk is due to a number of factors. We can see here on the slide that for almost 20% of students, English is not their first language. They are English language learners, so navigating the educational system and keeping up with the curriculum presents special challenges. Approximately 12.5%, or 183,000 students, are diagnosed as having a disability. To put this into some perspective, I'm going to imagine that some of you attended a local university here in Southern California, and we'll go with UCLA and USC, my alma maters. In 2019, there were approximately 45,000 total students enrolled at UCLA. This includes undergraduate and graduate students. That same year, approximately 48,500 total students were enrolled at USC. Together, the student populations are still about half the number of students throughout Los Angeles County who are diagnosed as having a disability. Furthermore, as much as 70% of Los Angeles County students qualify as socioeconomically disadvantaged. The measure of socioeconomically disadvantaged or low income is whether a student is eligible for free or reduced price meals at school. To put that number into context, low income for 2019-2020 was an annual income at or below $33,000, $475 for a family of 4. All of Learning Rights Law Center's clients are low income. All of our clients are at risk. This here on this slide is a breakdown of the special education eligibility categories in California. And I'm seeing, Erin, it's not showing up completely. I'm not seeing all of the percentages. No. I'm sorry, I don't know why it's not showing up correctly. But if it were, you would see that there are 13 eligibility categories in total. A large number of students qualify. What we see here in gray, it's not specified, but in gray is the students with a specific learning disability. That's 39% of all students who receive special education services in California. Autism and speech and language impairment, which are also not showing up for whatever reason, I'm not sure. 18% of students who are eligible for special education services are diagnosed as having autism or speech and language impairment. And then other health impairment, which is in the brown, commonly referred to as OHI, is also common at 13%. This can include a number of different diagnoses, including diabetes, asthma, and ADHD. And we'll make sure that when this gets recirculated, the percentages are corrected for you. Okay. How you can help with these students. Special education law admittedly is complicated. If you consider the lingo that is common to special education, for example, IDEA, FAPE, LRE, IEP, IEE, and due process, to name a few. Aside from trained and specially educated school personnel, these are not terms common to most people's vocabulary. Furthermore, as we have already discussed, the majority of students in Los Angeles County come from families where income, language, and disability serve to further complicate their access to a fair and meaningful education. In their experience, when there is a dispute with the school regarding a student's education, the school has the upper hand. And as lawyers and professionals, you are in a unique position to help. Pro bonos are uniquely positioned to advocate for children who, due to disability or discrimination, have been denied equal access to a public education. Even if you have no history in the practice of special education law, you are still in a special position to understand the complexities of federal and state laws, rules, and regulations. You are especially equipped to engage in legal research, writing, and negotiations. Simply put, having access to a lawyer makes a real difference in the lives of the families we serve. And our hope is together we can raise the bar for education. What is raising the bar for education? Raising the bar is a month-long campaign. Yes, it's a month-long campaign to gather pro bono donations of time and money for children who have been denied access to their education. Participants will compete to earn points through each contribution they make. At the end of the competition, the law firm with the most points is declared the winner. This year's competing firms, in no particular order, include Winston & Strawn, Morrison & Forrester, Latham & Watkins, Baker Hostetler, Skadden Arps, Capital Group Legal Department, Kibler, Fowl & Cave LLP, and Nixon Peabody. So we've got a great group, the largest number of competitors we've had thus far. By the end of the competition, a winner's bell is awarded to the winning team, which they will keep for the year. Many of you probably know that last year's winner was Morrison and Forrester, who is represented on this meeting and who's already started accumulating points this morning. On August 15, we will get to know if they get to keep the bell or if it's going to be awarded to a new champion. Okay, when and where will Raising the Bar for Education take place? As I've mentioned, it will occur between the dates of July 15th and August 15, 2020. All opportunities and activities associated with Raising the Bar for Education will be completed virtually. With respect to who can participate, anyone who supports the vision of learning rights can participate. And here I have our visions written out for you. Our vision is for all children to receive a meaningful and equitable public education, which empowers them to grow into happy, productive, and independent adults. You do not have to be a licensed attorney. You do not have to have any experience related to special education law. No previous experience is required. All you need is compassion and empathy for the clients we serve, like Candace and Sylvia. Why should you participate? During these difficult times, pro bono contributions are especially needed by learning rights, and here are a couple of reasons why. Whereas the COVID-19 crisis has affected the education, health, and well-being of all families, our clients are disproportionately impacted by this unprecedented pandemic. For example, many of our clients lack the resources necessary to be able to access remote learning. They lack computers and printers. They may have limited or no access to Wi-Fi. They have limited support at home with parents and siblings having to work. There may be a lack of books and basic school supplies. The challenges our students face during the typical school year are exacerbated during these difficult times. Furthermore, discrimination is very real for students of color, who are the majority of our clients. Some are unjustly expelled, suspended, arrested, charged, and entered into the court system before they are teens. Learning Rights believes that we must listen, speak out, and fight for the justice that every community deserves. And now more than ever, we need your help to do this. Okay. Now I'm going to go into, I've given a little bit of background as to what the challenge is, but to encourage your participation, I'm going to go over some of the options for participating. And option number one, let's see, I'll get to it in just a second. The goal of each participant, as you know, is to raise points for your team or law firm. You raise points by contributing time and or money, as mentioned before. We will begin by talking about points for your pro bono time. There will be several virtual pro bono opportunities throughout the month for your participation. 1,000 points will be awarded for each hour of pro bono service that is donated. To begin, 1,000 points will be awarded for each person attending this orientation and training. So congratulations on earning your first 1,000 points. Learning Rights Law Center will be hosting mass intake days throughout the challenge. They are currently scheduled for July 22nd, July 31st, and August 14th. Intakes take approximately 2 hours each. On intake days, intakes will be scheduled for you for the morning and afternoon. You could pick a time that is most convenient. You don't have to do morning and afternoon. You can just do the time that works best for you. As you can see, our first intake day is coming up rather quickly on July 22nd. That's next Wednesday. If you could please, if you're interested, please reach out to me sooner rather than later so we can make sure that you're paired up with a family to speak with. You will get any information you need ahead of the scheduled intake. At the day and time of your intake, you will call the family to review documents and ascertain pertinent facts. For example, what are their concerns with their child's education? What kind of help are they hoping to obtain from Learning Rights Law Center? You will then consult with one of our supervising attorneys, or a learning rights attorney, excuse me, to draft a plan of action for the family and give them the information they need to move forward and help themselves. If you have questions or would like to sign up for an intake, please email me. My email is here on the slide, marisol@learningrights.org. You can also go to our website for additional information. How do you participate? Option 2. There will be several opportunities to participate in workshops hosted by Learning Rights Law Center's educational consultant, Mariana Liniero Solar. All workshops are live and last approximately 1 hour. Again, each hour of participation equals 1,000 points. The workshops are an opportunity for volunteers to learn about the various diagnoses and needs affecting our clients. For example, understanding specific learning disabilities, emotional skills and disability, and learning processes affected by disability. It's important to note you do not have to personally participate in the training to earn points. Others can participate and earn points on your behalf, even if they do not work for your law firm or legal department. This is a great and easy way to share information with others in the community who might be interested in the work that we do, all the while raising points for your team at the same time. Additional workshops will be held in August. To register or for more information, you can check our webpage or go directly to Mariana's Facebook, which is listed here, Mariana Liniero Classes. A third option to participate. In response to the COVID-19 crisis, Learning Rights Law Center is hosting an ongoing series of webinars aimed at supporting families and advocates during these difficult times. Each webinar lasts approximately 1 hour and includes topics ranging from navigating virtual meetings, accessing virtual services, and when to request an independent educational evaluation. Past webinars have been recorded and can be viewed at your convenience. Future webinars will also be recorded. To access to all webinars is available on our website, learningrights.org/RTB. Again, you do not have to personally participate in the webinar to earn points for your team. Someone else can participate on your behalf. Option number 4, we have a lot of options this year. We're trying to get creative in how to engage our legal community virtually. So option number 4, which I'm very excited about, it's presented by one of our board members, Jane Lord. We will be hosting an online dyslexia simulation on Thursday, August 6th at 12 o'clock noon. Participants will have an opportunity to engage in a series of activities which allow you to experience what it is like to live with dyslexia. The simulation will last approximately 1 hour, and additional information, once the registration link becomes available, it will be on our website. Okay, and last but not least, a fundraising opportunity to participate. I will hand it over to Erin for explanation on how you can help by fundraising.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to move us from our slideshow to our website to talk with you a little bit about fundraising. If you are not familiar, this is learningrights.org/RTB. This is our page for Raising the Bar for Education. If you're ever looking for it, you can navigate to our homepage, hover Events on the menu, and click Raising the Bar. This is where you can find all of the information that Marisol has shared with you today. It is also where you can see an updated thermometer of how we're doing, which is already out of date as we've had a rush of donations at the beginning of the day, which we're very appreciative of. At the top of this page, there is a quick and easy donate link. There is also a link to the information that Marisol has shared with you thus far. There's an active leaderboard, which will display the top 3 firms in order of the points that they earned, both through volunteering and through donating. And there's also a link to join the competition. Joining the competition takes you to our fundraising page. See, there's the donations that have come in this morning. Our fundraising page is an easy opportunity for firm employees and friends and family to contribute to this event. Right from this page, people can make a donation or become a fundraiser. The teams page, we have already set up individual team accounts for each of the firms involved. So if you want to donate to your firm's team, you just hop right here, click your team. Let's say you're an employee at Baker Hostetler, and you make a donation right here. Alternatively, at any point where you're clicking to make a donation, even all the way back here, you'll enter your firm's name, and that donation will be linked to your firm. If you want an easy way to raise even more funds and to get more people involved, you can become a fundraiser. You can join this team. You can set a personal goal. You'll set your own amount that you're trying to raise, and then it'll give you a link and opportunities to share with your friends and family. Additionally, you can donate by texting. So you see here on the teams page, each team gets assigned a code phrase that they can text to 71777, and that's an even easier way for anyone around the country to donate if they would like to. So yeah, this is our fundraising page. Marisol, is there anything that I'm missing?
Can you show where they track their pro bono points?
Oh, that's right. Thank you. So back at our Raising the Bar for Education site, if you were to click on the Pro Bono Opportunities header, that will pull you down the site to all of the information that Marisol has shared with you today. At the top of that is a little button called Log Your Time, and this is where you can submit your time. For example, you all have donated an hour of your time this morning. We're very appreciative of it, and you can put in your information right here and submit your 1 hour to us, and that'll get put in towards the leaderboard right here. We went ahead and left Morrison and Forrester in first place from last year because they deserve it. But hopefully this will get filled out in the next day or so with both donations and time that you have logged.
Thank you, Erin.
All right, so now
Right.
back to our PowerPoint.
Thank you. So as Erin already went over, tracking your points is really easy. You can track your pro bono time at our website, learningrights.org/RTB. Click on that, log your time. And then monetary donations, any donations and contributions that are made will be tallied and attributed to your team automatically. So logging your points, tracking your points is fairly straightforward. When in doubt, just go to our website or shoot one of us an email. Shoot me an email and we'll work it out together. Okay. So I will quickly go over some of the laws and legal terms you will want to be familiar with as you participate in this year's Law Firm Challenge. This is absolutely not an exhaustive list of all the laws which are applicable or relevant to our work, but they are sufficient to impart a basic understanding of the fundamentals of special education law. For the remainder of this training, you can see here I have the IDEA, which I will talk about, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, the American with Disabilities Act, and California Education Code. However, for the remainder of this training, I will focus on the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Okay, all right. So the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, also commonly referred to as IDEA, is the federal law that mandates special education and related services be provided to eligible students with disabilities. The IDEA enumerates the rights and responsibilities of students, parents, and school districts. Under the IDEA, in order for a student to qualify for special education services, the student must be less than 22 years of age, they must have a qualifying disability, and there must be an actual need for special education and related services. Pursuant to the IDEA, students with disabilities are entitled to a free and appropriate public education, commonly referred to as FAPE. Free, appropriate public education. Free means the government pays for the education of students with disabilities. There's no cost to the families. What is appropriate for the student must be determined on an individual basis. For example, if two students have a similar disability such as autism, that does not necessarily mean they have the same needs with respect to their education. They can have very different traits associated with the diagnosis, and each must be considered individually. Each is entitled to an education that is appropriate to him or her. Public means it's supervised by the public school. This includes an IEP team, teachers, parents, and others who decide what services and support the student will get. In a few cases, the government may pay for kids with disabilities to attend a private school. And E for education, it's important to remember that education is not limited to simple reading, writing, and math. Education can also include related services like speech therapy, counseling, or even transportation, anything that a student needs to be able to access their education. The goal is for kids to make progress in school and be prepared for the future. According to the IDEA, school districts must have a continuum of program options available to meet the needs of special education students. Students must be placed in the least restrictive environment that is appropriate. The types of placement options that must be available through the public school include full inclusion. This is when a special education student is fully included in the general education class for 100% of the day. If a parent wants their child to be fully included, a school cannot force that student into a more restrictive environment without first attempting to put in place appropriate supports. A resource specialist program is specialized instruction by a special education teacher in a particular subject matter, such as math or reading. This can be done either inside or outside of the regular education classroom, and this can be done on either an individual or group basis. Special day classes are segregated classes on a regular school campus for students with similar and more intensive needs. A non-public school is a private, non-sectarian school contracted by the school district. When a school does not have an appropriate placement for a student with disabilities, the district must fund that student with a non-public school placement if the non-public school has an appropriate program to meet the student's needs. Lastly, the most restrictive environment is a residential placement. These are non-public schools where students reside and receive special education services on an ongoing 24-hour basis. To be eligible, it must be determined by the IEP team that no less restrictive environment is available to provide the student any meaningful educational benefit. Okay, the IDEA requires that students be assessed in all areas of suspected disability. The purpose of assessing a student is to better understand his or her strengths and weaknesses and how they are impacting performance in the educational setting. To be appropriate, assessments must be the requirements listed on this slide. Must be conducted by a qualified person in all areas of suspected disability, and the student's primary language must not be discriminatory. There must be a classroom observation involved, and once the student is eligible for special education services, the child must be reassessed at minimum every 3 years. Every school district has an affirmative obligation to identify, locate, and evaluate students in their jurisdiction who have a disability or who are suspected of having a disability. This is called child find. If a parent disagrees with the district's assessment or the district's assessment was not complete or accurate, the parent may obtain a private independent assessment at the district's expense. Oftentimes, families come to us seeking help when the district has failed to properly assess their child. So if you're doing intake, this is an issue that you will want to look out for. Keep in mind open to that perhaps the district has done an assessment and it was not sufficient, it was not appropriate, or parents been asking for an assessment for some time and district just hasn't done it. It's a common issue that we see. As I mentioned before, education is not just academics. It's not just math, reading, and writing. The school must provide all related services which a child needs in order to benefit from his or her educational program. These here are some examples: audiology counseling, occupational therapy, physical therapy, psychological services, recreation, speech and language, and adapted PE. Determination as to whether the related service is appropriate would be made following an assessment in the particular area. Remember, the district must assess in all suspected areas of need. Okay. An IEP, Individualized Education Plan, is a written document. It details how a school district will educate a student who is eligible for special education services. It is drafted by the IEP team at an IEP meeting. The IEP team must include parents, at least one general education teacher, one special education teacher, a school district representative who can approve services for the child, and an expert such as a school psychologist. The student must also be present, if he or she is over the age of 16, and a translator must be present as needed. An IEP must include at minimum the components listed on this slide. The IEP must make a clear offer of FAPE for the parents to consider, including an offer of services, instructions, accommodations, and modifications for the child. Oftentimes, families come to us because the IEP being offered by the school district is not appropriate for their child. And again, that's something to look out for if you participate in one of our intake days. Okay. By the time families reach out to our office, they have likely reached a point of a dispute with the school district. We can advise them on intake of their options, or we can keep the case in-house for representation. An informal dispute here would include holding an IEP meeting. This brings the IEP team back to the table to discuss the parents' concerns with the goal of making changes to the IEP as appropriate. Another form of dispute could include a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights. These can be filed by individuals who believe they have been discriminated against on the basis of race, color, national origin, disability, age, sex, or religion. A compliance complaint can be filed with the California Department of Education when the school district is non-compliant with either federal or state special education laws. For example, when the parties agree that an IEP is appropriate as written, but it is not being implemented by the school district, a compliance complaint would be an appropriate option. When there is a dispute regarding the child's education and the parties disagree as to what is actually in the IEP, a due process complaint with the California Office of Administrative Hearings is appropriate. Either a district or parent may file a request for due process with the Office of Administrative Hearings. Okay. So how are learning rights staff and volunteers responding to our clients and their needs? It all starts with the intake process. This is how you will be helping if you participate in a mass intake day. As a reminder, those dates are July 22nd, July 31st, and August 14th. During the intake interview, the families will speak with the learning rights volunteer to discuss their concerns. This initial interview lasts approximately 30 minutes. There are a few forms the interviewer must review with the client during this time, and those will be provided to you in a training manual. After the initial interview, the volunteer will consult with the learning rights staff attorney to determine next steps for the family. The volunteer will then draft what we call a case plan or plan of action for the family, which is a step-by-step outline of our recommendations regarding how to proceed. The volunteer will then reconnect with the family to explain our recommendations. Again, please email me if you would like to be scheduled for an intake. I will forward you the intake manual, and then I will set up a time for us to quickly review and discuss before your scheduled intake appointment to see if you have any questions and just talk things over in a little bit more detail. If during intake we realize that a case plan and advocacy or tips on advocacy are not quite sufficient and the family needs an immediate attorney, education attorney, we have the option of keeping the case in-house. We do not charge for any of our services. Most of the cases we keep in-house end up going to due process, which we talked about in the previous slide. And if you are interested in learning more about due process and how to be involved with that, please feel free to reach out to me and we can talk about that separately. In addition to intake and due process, we do a lot. We have a lot of projects and programs at Learning Rights where we're trying to assist low-income and at-risk students. Some of these involve ongoing civil litigation. As I mentioned, the COVID response workshops, online webinars. Our Tiger program is still up and running and very strong. We have discrete research projects that we need help with all the time, various legislation efforts, and more. So I did, discuss a few of the options for participating in pro bono and raising points. But if there's anything else that you might be interested in, I encourage you to reach out to me. We do have some law firms who are going to be involved in systemic issues regarding certain districts, Long Beach, Compton, etc. If you want more information on other options on how to participate or how to be involved, please reach out to me because before. Now more than ever, we really need your help. So for now, I just want to say thank you for participating and supporting Learning Rights in its annual Law Firm Challenge. Please remember to log your points on our website. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me with any questions. We are so grateful for your support and your participation, and we look forward to an exciting summer collaborating with you.